Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the panel. This here is Onley James. They're on the right-hand side of my screen. They might be on the left-hand side of your screen. I don't know. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, God. I'm Onley James. As she said, I write gay romance about psychopaths and vigilantes.
Right, really good gay romance about psychopaths and vigilantes.
Oh, and now I write poly Omegaverse gay romance under Nola Harker as well. So
that I need to find. I am caught up on Onley James, but I am not caught up on the others.
Well, I've been sending out newsletters because I'm about to launch a new series under Nola Harker. It's called The Night Movers. And that one, it's like a complete season because, you know, all my Nola Harker stuff is serials. So like when I finish a season, I turn it into a book because I know a lot of people don't want to read as I write.
Yeah.
So this one's season one's about to come out on Tuesday. So yeah. So I'm kind of doing an email a day introducing each of the characters in the sluttiest way possible, hoping to entice my readers to give it a shot because it is definitely the kinkiest stuff I've ever written.
That's amazing.
Well,
Chad is asking how to subscribe to the newsletter.
Oh, if you go to onlyjames.com, it will immediately pop up. Like, it'll slap you in the face the minute you...
It'll slap you in the face. Fantastic.
You put in your email and you're good. You're done.
Fuck yeah.
It'll probably put you through a welcome sequence, but you'll still get my weekly emails that come out on Fridays.
Cool. Rad. Well, this panel is supposed to be about kink. Where do we want to start?
I mean, where would you like to start?
Even start?
I can talk about this for 6 days. What do you want?
I would like to let everybody in the chat know that Q&A is open. So if you hit the Q&A button at the bottom, you can send us questions and I will see them. And
I won't because these glasses are purely for decorative purposes. So she's going to have to read the questions to me.
I'm using the question bar to cover my face so I don't stare at myself as much. Oh God. I just started stretching my ears and I keep staring at them.
Oh, my daughter-in-law has her ears stretched. And like every time I'm just like, sometimes I'm just like, oh, I wish I had done that. And then other times I'm just like, oh, it's painful.
Yeah. It's like, it depends. Like on this side, it doesn't hurt that bad. But on this side, oh God.
Well, hers are so big that now my grandchildren can just shove their finger in and just like, ah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And they're monsters.
Look.
They're like monsters. They're two boys and they are out of control. They've already kicked her lip ring through her lip once.
Oh.
Speaking of BDSM.
Right? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we had to go there. We had to go into her lip and get it out.
Yeah.
Right? No. I'm a nurse and I was like, ew, I don't want
Oh my God. Holy shit. Okay, starting off strong. Where do you get inspiration for your stories?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
I was a huge Dexter fan, so that started a lot of it. And I've been a true crime junkie since I was like a kid, like little kid. I think I started reading true crime when I was like 11.
Nice.
And I decided I wanted to be a behavioral profiler because I read John Douglas's book. And
I was like, I know Robert Ressler too.
Yeah, I read all of their books, but that first one came out when I was probably 14. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to become a behavioral profiler for the FBI. All I want to do is interview serial killers. Like, I was in it. And my dad's like, you're going to be a writer. You're not going to be a psychiatrist, a psychologist. And I'm like, that's not what I want to do. And he's just like, no, you're going to be a writer. My parents have been telling me since I was like 4, you're going to be a writer. Like, I think it was just a way of coping with the fact that I was shitty in school.
Oh my God.
They were just like, that's all right. She could fall back on writing. She doesn't have to know math. Like,
it'll be fine.
So yeah, so I've always been super into true crime. And then when Dexter came out, I was just like, oh, I love this idea of like because I used to work as a nurse, I worked for a children's psychiatric facility, like a long-term care facility.
Okay.
So I was taking care of kids that were like 5 years old to like 12 years old. And at that age, it's not mental illness, it's their parents. Like,
Yeah.
literally, the worst thing that happened to these kids was the fact that they were born to these people. And I had so much rage and trauma when I left that job that this became like my own therapy. Like, I have been killing off their parents in my books since they started. Like, that's
Yay.
literally how Noah came about in Unhinged, is because it was just this trauma that I had seen that I just needed to like get out of my head and kill. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
what I
relatable.
did.
There's a lot in your books that I find absurdly relatable as somebody who has a really questionable childhood. So I appreciate that a lot.
I'm about to graduate EMDR therapy for my childhood, so
Oh, fun.
so don't worry, like I'm right there with you. It's definitely cathartic. Like I think that's why a lot of people like my books, because they're very stabby and very tortury, but only to the bad people. So it
Right.
lets you have that bloodlust without feeling guilty about it, you
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah.
it's just like, you know.
I love it. Do you have a favorite character of yours, or a character who's the easiest to write?
The easiest to write is definitely Atticus, because he's my self-insert character. He's me. He's
I love
100% me. Like, he's easy to write because he's just me. My little Virgo. He's me. Yeah, and Jericho is my wish fulfillment. He's the man I will never have.
Perfect.
But yeah, no, he's easiest to write. I don't think I have a favorite character, because it varies based on like when I get an idea for like a minific or something like that, all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, okay, and I like get into it. But like there's really no favorites. They're all like my children, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to pick favorites, especially when you have so many.
The cast
Like I was
keeps
trying
going.
to come up with like, well, which book is your favorite? And I'm like, I don't know. I can't pick.
Some people are immediate. They're like, oh, it's Psycho. Oh, it's Moonstruck. And then other people are like, I don't know.
Honestly, I'm kind of an intoxicating broad. Like,
oh, thank you.
That's probably my favorite, because that's what got me hooked in the first place.
That was my very first MM romance.
It's so good.
I wrote.
It made me cry.
Thank you. I look back on that series sometimes and I'm like, oh, was this too cheesy? Like, was it too over the top? Like, because my writing style's changed a little bit since then. So like, sometimes I go back and I read like book 3 or 4 and I'm just like, oh, cringe. Ugh.
No, they're good. They're so good. I love the cringe. It's fine. Link is daddy.
We're doing a read along for Intoxicating, starting in July on my Instagram. So
cool.
if anybody wants to hop on board, that's the very first book that started the whole series. So all my books are interconnected with the exception of 2 of them. Where the Devil Don't Go, which is just a weird paranormal one that I wrote out of nowhere. And then Disciplinary Action, which I wrote as a newsletter builder, and then literally it just got out of control and became a 90,000 word book about a kinky headmaster and his student.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
My other very BDSM book.
Back on topic, I guess, kind of, sort of. How do you decide which kinks to include in which books?
I don't. So, okay, I'm going to let everybody know this right away. I don't plot anything. I wrote August as I wrote his name on the page. I didn't even know his name. I didn't know Atticus' name. I didn't know anybody's name. I knew Adam and I knew Noah. And that's how it started. By page 3, I was like, well, I hope these guys are good, because like this is a whole series I've plotted around them. But I don't I don't really go into it like that. The more I understand about them psychologically, the more their kinks make sense to me. Yeah. Because I've been in the lifestyle for 20 years. God, oh my God, 20 years. Maybe even more than that. I think 25, maybe. Holy shit.
It happens.
So like a lot of people, with Noah especially, they were like, he would never have those kind of kinks after being abused as a child. And I was like, have you ever met a sub before.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, there are plenty of people who have never been abused who like to be submissive. Don't get me twisted. Like, I don't mean that at all. But yes, sometimes people like to relive their trauma in a safe environment. Sorry, that's just how it is. Like, it exists, it's real, and that's what a lot of people do with BDSM. So when I know what their head is psychologically, then I know what their kinks are, because they kind of just go together automatically. Once you've met enough people, you kind of go, oh, okay, I get it now. I know why you're in here. Like, I got it. So yeah, I kind of just write their kinks as they come to me, because I see their dynamic as it's working out. But like, I mean, like Felix and Avi were never supposed to be together. Like that just came about because of their chemistry on the page. Oh yeah, no, I was never putting them together. Not because
I called that like the second they.
Yeah, no, because their chemistry was so good on page. I just wrote it as I saw it, and then I was like, oh. Well, yeah, now they have to be together because of this banter. You can't have this kind of sexual tension and then not,
They're like, fucking perfect.
So like, I don't plot anything. I just the only people I knew who were going to get together obviously was, book 7. And by then it was built up so much, it was like, oh, well, this could be the end of my career. Like, everybody's waiting for it. Yeah. It's either going to make the series or break it. And the first review I saw afterwards, I was just scrolling, and I have myself, my tag on Instagram. So like, which I don't anymore for this very reason. And I was just scrolling, and I saw somebody's review, and it said, we knew she wasn't gonna, we knew this was going to be disappointing regardless of what she did. I was like, wah, wah, wah.
No.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, well.
I don't know if it's a spoiler by me saying I know who you're talking about. I'm not going to spoil it because, reasons.
Right.
But I know people in the chat.
Read anything.
Yeah, I know people in the chat. I know one person specifically is not that far yet. Oh, where was I going with that? Holy shit. Oh, I was really satisfied with it personally, and that's not me just being a simp. I'm
fine with that too. You can.
I was happy with it.
I'm gonna mention it. I love it.
This kind of sort of tags along with that, if people know what I'm talking about. You've written stepbrothers. Will you write actual brothers one day, or any kind of cess?
Oh, this is actually a good segue. So I am probably going to launch what I'm calling the Dark Vaults, which will be stories that you can download off of BookFunnel from my website. And cool. Those will be kind of like, some of them will be minifics that are like too risque for Patreon. So Avi and, Asa being Avi and Asa.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, stuff that's a little bit kinkier, a little bit more dubcon, a little bit more AO3 fanficky than me writing my minifics on Patreon, if you get my drift.
Yeah.
I polled my patrons and I was just like, is there anything super kinky you'd rather I write? Like, so I think I'm just going to drop like one story a month over there. And then eventually I'll just bundle them into like an anthology and people can buy it or not. But yeah, like, cause sometimes I do want to write darker stuff, but I don't want to traumatize my people who trust me,
Valid. Yeah.
Like, and I don't like, I had somebody who was absolutely furious with me because they said I didn't trigger warn Rogue appropriately. And to this day, I still don't know what I missed. Like,
right.
I still don't know what I missed in the trigger warning, but they were furious. And I was just like, oh shit. Oh, okay. So like now I'm ultra paranoid. Like I ask 3 or 4 people, like, what would you put as a trigger warning before, know, though now I have a program that just reads my story, like, and says, these are all the triggers. Some of them I never even thought about. Some of them I was like, oh, that's a trigger? Shit. I'm weirder than I thought I was.
I would have never thought of that. Yeah.
I was like, a trigger, but okay.
I'm the type to not read trigger warnings because they're spoilers for me.
Right. And a lot of people have there's no line from a lot of people, and that's cool. Like, I'm fine with that too. But like, honestly, my lines and other people's lines are weird. Like, if there's cheating in a book, I'm not reading it. Full stop.
Yeah.
If the book doesn't have a happy ending, I'm not reading it.
Same.
Like, especially with my fanfics. Like, when I'm reading fanfic, if I know that it has a depressing ending, one of my favorite couples in fanfic who I'm not going to say because they're real life people. They're not characters. But one of my favorite, there was a recommendation going around on TikTok, and everybody was like, "Oh, you've got to read it. It's the best book I've ever read." Sobbing. People are sobbing over it. And I was just like, why is anybody doing this to themselves? I'm not doing that. I'm not going to watch. Like, no, I don't want that. That's not why I read fanfic. Like, that's not why I do that. No,
I've done it. I've done it one time where there was a fic. It was a similar situation where it was really, really popular in the fandom. It was in TGCF, if anybody knows what I'm talking about. And I read it, and it does involve cheating, and it's so bad. It's so bad. And I'm like, I don't know why I did that.
Yeah. Sometimes once I'm started, I can't stop reading. Yeah. And that really bothers me because I know it's going to be painful when it's over. And I'm just like, oh no, I've gone too far. I can't stop
now. What's your fave kink to write? SSC specifically, like, what do you love writing properly to bring stigma, and which do you love to write however the fuck you want? Because we love smut.
I love writing daddy kink because I think a lot of people don't understand daddy kink. And I think a lot of people think that if you're doing daddy kink, you have to have little play too.
Right.
You know, which is fine. If that's like your thing, that's fine.
It's valid, yeah.
A lot of people, they like the idea of daddy kink, but they don't like the idea of like the little aspect. Like they just can't wrap their heads around that. So I like writing daddy kink without that, just because that's where my comfort level is. And that's like where I am. So I like writing that because I like writing it realistically, but I like writing primal play because I think that people like, I'm not like some expert, like, so don't take anything. Right. I'm just like, other people get it wrong, but I get it right. Like in my head, like I think like, oh, I would do it this way, and so that's what I do. But yeah, like I always gear towards the more S&M type bondage dominance thing. I just always have, like, even my more vanilla romances tend to have that edge where one of them is more submissive than the other. And that's just because that's where my comfort zone lies, you know, which is why I ventured into Omegaverse, because it's fun to play with those dynamics, because I have alphas who are submissive and I have, you know, omegas who aren't. And like, it's fun to play with that dynamic. And I wrote those for myself. And then I asked my patrons if they wanted to read it. But I was writing both those Omegaverse serials for me. Like I was just doing it in my spare time for fun. I was never going to publish them because I thought they were way too kinky for my crowd. And I also thought my readers weren't into Omegaverse. And then when I mentioned it and everybody was like, oh, I want to read it. And I was like, oh shit, you're all just as weird as I am. Okay, great. Right? Let's do this. Like, I was like, shit, I didn't know. I thought I was like the one who was being a little weird. But no, I love Omegaverse. I love being able to play with the gender dynamics, you know, and being able to like shape the world how I want to. So that's a lot of fun too. And those books are definitely way more kinky. Not dark. Well, the storyline is dark, but the romances aren't dark, if you know what I mean. But they are very, very dirty.
I appreciate it. Something that I like about a lot of your characters is that they're verse.
Yeah.
I really like that. I feel like there aren't enough stories with verse characters in them.
Well, also, I feel like a lot of people think that if you are into BDSM and you are into like dominant submission play, that you can't be a top and submissive, right? Is obviously not true. Not a thing. Like, and so that's kind of like where I'm at with that, like why I play with the whole verse thing, because I mean, one, most of the people I know are verse, like like most of my friends, like there's not one specific role, you know. I had a friend who's like, I'm not giving, like I think I even said it in Barbarian. One of my friends was like, you think I'm giving up prostate orgasm? Sorry, no. Just because I like to boss people around? Absolutely fucking not.
Fuck like, yeah.
You know, so like, and that's it. Like, I think that, you know, what feels good and what your personality is has nothing to do with each other, you know? Like, you like what you like. So I like to just, and to me, it's just whatever the characters tell me, you know, it is. Like, I didn't know August was going to be Verse or Lucas. Like, I didn't know any of that. It's just, but it made sense in the context of their story. Like, and so that's kind of just how I go at it. Like, like I said, once I know them psychologically, I know the rest of them, you know?
Yeah.
That comes from reading behavioral profiling books when I was 11 years old.
I fucking love it. Oh my God. I'm the same variety of nerd. And so this is just like,
it's my particular brand of neurospicy.
Yeah.
I'm very big on pattern recognition. So like everything comes down to patterns for me. And that's what behavioral profiling was. It was like, you're looking at a set, you know, system, and typically if A plus B equals C, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not always like 100% true, but most of it, like we've learned, is pattern recognition. And so that's why it's easier for me to kind of like, once I know them psychologically, to know how they interact with other people in the world, you know?
Yeah. How do you deal with content restrictions on platforms?
Ugh.
Relatable.
Big Brother's always watching. The daddy kink is the one that gets flagged the most. So I've taken to literally just writing D space Y just to get around the fucking.
Yeah.
I don't want to like get another strike on me. But other than that, they really don't give me a hard time unless I accidentally drop the word like brother in a core 4 fic or something. Then they're like, oh, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, you know, 2 brothers can't be in the same room during sex without having sex with each other.
That is valid. Yeah.
It is valid, but it's a weird thing to have to say out loud.
It happens. I'm kind of weird, so I'm kind of like jaded. It just whoosh. I don't.
Well, and that's the thing. It never occurred to me that it would be an issue. They don't care if I use the word daddy as long as there's not sex in the same chapter. So I've taken to like separating the chapter where the sex starts, and then like the next part of the chapter, I'll just like make the word, like I said, like just D space. My readers now are like, oh, here we go again. They just know. So, and that's part of the reason why the Dark Vault stuff is going to be available on my website, because Patreon doesn't even let me put up videos, like, because I'm 18 plus.
I also have a Patreon, and I'm trying to fight that currently. And I play spicy visual novels on Patreon, and it's a pain in the ass. Patreon does not like
and so many people
to 18 plus at all.
Yeah, so many people don't mark their stuff 18 plus, but it most definitely is.
Yeah,
especially, I watch a lot of BL reactors. You know, like that's my stress relief. And so like I watch my BLs with somebody else.
Nice.
And they put all of it, like they don't censor all the sex scenes out, and they don't get flagged for it. And some of these, and I'm sure if you watch BL, you know, Thailand takes it as a personal challenge to one up each other. Like, and now Korea's right behind them. And I just saw China is putting out a Omegaverse. So the gloves are off, man. Everybody's coming for, they want that title. They want to be the one to push all those boundaries.
I was not prepared for Thai BL when I started getting into Thai BL. Like, oh my God.
I wasn't either. I was one of the people who got into it during Kin Porsche when that jumped off. And I was just like, oh, that looks really good. But I had never really, I didn't have any of the platforms, so I wasn't really tuned into it. But after FujiCon, then I was like, oh, okay, like this is a whole thing. Now, if you look, I have an entire shelf of BL manhwa, all of my box sets of like Moonlight Chicken, Love in the Air. Like I have, like, that's awesome. The thing about me is I now have enough money to really, really enjoy my hobbies. So I'm everybody's favorite person on Etsy because I'm like, oh, I want that acrylic standee. Oh, I want that acrylic standee. Like, if I turned my computer to my shelf, you'd be like, Jesus Christ.
I mean, you can see my bullshit behind.
Yeah, and that's pretty much how mine is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just 2 shelves though.
Yeah. And well, that's mine too, because I only have room for one shelf in my room. So like, it's very creative how I've like managed to stack everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I first got into BL, it was from Kin Porsche, and I kind of just thought like all BLs must be that, you know, risque. But then right after that, Love in the Air came out, and that was also kind of like kinky and pushing boundaries. But then I started watching GMM TV, and their stuff is a little sweeter. Well, it was. It was. They like once Kin Porsche came out, they were like, all right, gloves are off. Boom. Like, and now they gave all of those boys kissing lessons, thank God. It was like watching two cousins try to kiss each other. It was just like, what are they doing?
Yes.
But yeah, no, they've really stepped up their game. The acting is so much better. The sex scenes are so much better. The storylines, you know, it is what it is. Some of them are great, and others you're just like, oh, this is so toxic. Like, this is so toxic. But I also read super toxic stuff, like on Lezen, like my manhwas and stuff that I read, the comics that I read. Oh, they're so toxic. They're all Korean, and they're so toxic, but they're so addicting.
Same. Have you ever read Placebo?
No, no. My current obsession is this one called Cash or Credit, about
I haven't
this.
Read that one.
Oh my God, it's not even finished yet. It's season 1, and it's on Lezen, and it is so kinky. It is about this like guard who is basically blackmailing this kid into sleeping with him, one of the prisoners. But it's because the kid is in there because he wiped out his bank accounts, and he's secretly not a guard. He's like a mafia guy, and he's like cool. There to get even. But like then there's this other guy who's also into the kid, and he knew him when he was a kid, but the kid doesn't remember, and it's just like, it's so kinky and it is so dirty, and every single episode is all sex, sometimes consensual, sometimes not, but it's all sex, and it is just like, I'm not usually one who goes for that hardcore, but once I started it, I just couldn't stop reading it. It was so good.
What was the name of the series again? Sorry. What was the name of the series? Oh, Cash and Credit.
It's called Cash or Credit. And the artwork is beautiful. The artwork is beautiful.
Dude, manhwa art is...
Oh, and it's not censored.
Perfect.
Some of them, you know, you get the blur, or just the white.
Yeah.
Like they think we don't see it.
Like, lightsaber dick.
Yeah. So yeah, no, this one is completely uncensored.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's good.
Do you have a beta reader / quality control who you bounce ideas off of before you publish?
Yes, I have a business manager who has been with me since I was writing like YA books. And when I get stuck or something like that, like sometimes I just need to like word vomit my idea, and then like as I say it, it's like making more sense to me. And then if she says, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense, then I'm like, all right, I think I know where I'm going now. Like sometimes I just need to say it out loud.
Yeah.
But I also, because I don't plot, I paint myself into a corner a lot. The ending of The Bone Collector was never supposed to be that ending. It came to me at the very end. Like I had kind of had this like other idea in my head, just like a vague, like where I thought it was going to end. But then I was like, nope, that's not going to work. And so I just changed it completely, and everybody was like, oh, that's so great, you know? And it looked like I knew what I was doing, but that's pretty much been my entire career. Like just painting myself into a corner and then trying to figure out how the heck I'm going to get out of it. I'm doing the same thing with The Whipping Boy right now. It's because I screwed something up early on, and then somebody pointed it out to me. So then I had to do a bunch of mental gymnastics to make it not a mistake and more no, I meant to do that.
Yeah.
Really. You know, I like to tie things together. I meant to do that. Like using Calliope like 700 times. Like I didn't use that name before.
It's fine. I like
that
all
in the
of,
math.
all of the everything kind of tethers together somehow. Like I appreciate it. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Again, it was purely unintentional at first, but now it all makes sense. It was just, it was divine intervention.
It's perfect. Okay, this one's from Ludo. Number 1, huge fan. I'm absolutely losing my mind that we get to talk to you. Number 2, the almost primal energy that Asa is giving is peak. Is that something that you might revisit or expand on in other works? And then they go, please, I'm begging.
No, I love primal kink, and it's funny because Asa is very much a people love him or they hate him.
Yeah.
There's really no in between with him. Some people are like, he's an abusive dick, and other people are like, give me more. Again, I like that dynamic. I like primal play. I like the almost instinctive, like, I gotta catch you, like, you know, to have you kind of thing. Again, that's why I kind of ventured into Omegaverse, because now it's built into the gender. Like, and so I kind of play a lot with that more in my Omegaverse stuff than I do in my contemporary stuff right now. But there's a ton of Asa stories on my Patreon. I think most of them ended up in the Family and Felonies anthology. Some people, they don't like it because of the whole, it's not just Asa and Zane, it's like Asa, Zane, Avi, Felix.
I haven't read
that's why
any
I call it the core
yet.
four. Because like those four are almost always together in stories. And at first that was a line that a lot of people didn't cross. And now those same people are like, I need more. I need more.
Yeah.
So I definitely love that dynamic, and I would love to explore it further. And I think a lot of that'll be done in that Dark Vault kind of thing, because Zane doesn't really have a lot of boundaries. And sometimes Asa has to be the voice of reason. Sometimes it's Asa who's safe wording, because Zane will let him kill him.
I appreciate that, though. I like when the Dom safe words.
Yeah, me too.
I'm into that.
You never see it, and you almost never see it in fiction. But it does happen. It does happen, because a lot of submissives are almost punishing themselves, or they feel like they're giving up. Like, no, I can do this. I can do this.
Right.
You know, and it's like, this isn't an endurance trial. Like, you know, you're supposed to be enjoying this. Like, if pain isn't your thing, then there's other ways to punish somebody. You know what I mean? Like, that's another thing I think a lot of people don't realize is like a lot of, I kind of explored domestic discipline a lot in Barbarian.
Yeah.
And some people really liked it, and other people were like, that's kind of weird. But a lot of like the rules Dom set for subs have nothing to do with sex at all. Like most of them, you know, drink your water, take your vitamins, take your pills, like, you know, take care of yourself. And a lot of people need that. They need, like, if I had somebody who just followed me around and reminded me to take my fucking pills every day, that'd be great.
Right?
That'd be great. Please, you know? So a lot of that stuff comes into play with Asa and Zane. I did a Q&A with the four of them last week and let everybody ask questions and then answered as the characters. And a lot of people wanted to know, like, what are some of the things Zane gets, quote, punished for, you know? And those are the things, like not taking his pills, not drinking enough water, being mean to himself, stuff like that.
I find that sweet.
Right.
I like that.
And people are like, oh, you know? And I'm like, sorry, but that's realistic. It is, you know, for the dynamic of those two characters, that's the stuff that Zane will deny himself, because he still has this feeling of like, I'm not good enough. They're just letting me be here because I found out their secret. Like, he's getting better, like through every fic, he gets better about feeling like he belongs. But like, he's always been very insecure, like, oh, Asa only married me because like I knew the secret or whatever, you know, because his mother is always that voice in his head. Like, so
he's really relatable to me in a lot of ways, so I completely get it. I have unfortunately issues out the ass. And
everybody's like, when are you gonna kill that bitch? And I'm like, so many people want her dead that I have to actually make it like a thing, because if I just go, oh, she's dead, like everybody's gonna fucking freak out. So that's part of the reason she's not dead yet, because the pressure is killing the pressure. I do a lot of things stupidly where I like ask people like, what do you want to see? And then they tell me and I'm like, oh, now I can't write it. It's too much pressure.
Kind of tethers to what we were talking about. Who's kinkier, Mal or Seven?
I will say that Mal is definitely kinkier, because Mal has the neurodivergence to switch off the portion of himself is like, oh, am I pushing things too far? Like, that's he valid. Already has this sort of not knowing who he is. Like, people are always like, oh, you made him like kind of gender fluid because it's like because of his neurodivergence. And I'm like, no, this is a trauma response. Like, he's not gender fluid because of a trauma response. He's just who he is. Like, he likes stuff, he likes masculine stuff. But the not knowing who he is when he wakes up in the morning, like kind of like trying on different personalities regardless of gender, that has to do with a trauma response. That's almost a DID type response, you know, like he doesn't have, you know, dissociative identity disorder. He's not like waking up a new person and not remembering the other person, but it's just a way of him compartmentalizing his trauma. And that has nothing to do with him being neurodivergent. That's just trauma. But the neurodivergence, as somebody who is neurodivergent, like I'm very good at being able to just, you know, in Vampire Diaries where they like switch off their humanity.
Yeah.
And that's why I was a good nurse, because in the moment I can just be like, nope, got to turn it off, got to do what I need to get done, like regardless, whether they're crying, whether they're screaming, whether they're like, I have to just get it done. And I think that that's why Mal is a little bit better at not feeling guilty about giving, you know, Nico what he wants. Like, and Nico wants that, like that discipline. He wants that structure because he has also neurodivergence. He's got the ADHD, you know? And so for him, a routine feels good, and having rules feels good. Having structure feels good. And being punished for that, I'm sure, ties a lot to his mother's neglect and stuff like that when he was a kid. But Mal's definitely kinkier. 7 is more dad, like he is looking for a male figure to replace his father. Like his dad is so horrible to him that he's looking for that older male figure that will like kind of take care of him, you know, which is why I don't know, 70% through with 7's book. And so much of it is backstory between them, because they've been having this off again, on again thing for 7 or 8 months when Barbarian is going on. So I had to cover a lot of that. So it's weird because this is the first story where the mystery aspect kind of starts, I would say probably 60% in, and it's not going to be a huge like whodunit kind of thing. It's just something that's going to be happening along the way, because the way they started was so hot, but also really toxic, just because of a mistake Enzo made in the very beginning, which he's now making up for hugely. But like at the time, it was like such a blow to 7's ego that he was just like, eat shit and die. Like, I don't fucking care about you at all. So now that they've kind of are in a place where they trust each other, now I can kind of explore more of how far they're willing to go, because 7 also kind of likes the idea of like domestic discipline. He likes the idea of being punished, but he doesn't really have, like Nico, he doesn't really have any practical experience with it. You know, like the guys at Jericho's boys all talk a big game, you know what I mean? But other than Levi and in some ways Arson, none of them are very experienced sexually. You know what I mean? Like, they've all been with somebody, but never in the ways they tell themselves in their heads. You know, Nico was a perfect example, because he was just like, oh, he's not kinky enough for me. He's not this, he's not that. And he'd never even experienced it himself. So he has no fucking idea. Like, he doesn't really even know. He wants to explore that, but he thinks that Mal, because he's so good at taking care of him, won't be into that kind of thing, you know, which is why communication is so important in any relationship, because you never know, like, what one of the most milquetoast normal average guys I ever dated was the kinkiest motherfucker on the planet. Once you got to this day, he's the one that got away. Like, he is the one I think about every now and again. And I'm just like, oh, I wonder what he's doing. And probably nothing, because he's so boring, but he is. He was a really good kisser. But like, you just don't know. And like, so when you kind of, that's why trust is important in relationships, because if you can't trust somebody to have this conversation where you're honest about like what you like and what you don't, sex is always going to be a weird thing, you know. It's always going to be something that's like tiptoeing around. And it's kind of why the whole BDSM thing was always so attractive to me, because contracts are there for a reason. So like, even if you're not in a relationship, or even if you are, it's like, this is what I'm willing to do. This is what I might be willing to do. This is what I'm absolutely not fucking doing ever, you know? And that can change. Like, Adam and Noah are a perfect example. Like, in the beginning, of Unhinged when Noah's listing off the things he won't do, where he's like, no circus animals, no, you can't pee on me, stuff like that. And fucking Adam's like, this is your list? Like, what the fuck do you think I'm gonna do to you?
Right.
Like, no spitting in my mouth. And like, that's actually changed. That's actually something that he like gets off on now. And dynamics change. Like, the more you trust somebody, the more you're willing to go, or you've learned something and you're like, oh, well, now I want to try that. So that's kind of why it's nice to have this contract where you can just be like, okay, well, you know, this is out the window now. Like, I'm going to put this in the green column instead of the yellow, you know? And I just, again, with my pattern recognition and my need for structure that I don't have because I have both ADHD and autism, it's like, to me, contracts are so nice because I don't want to think. I don't want to worry.
Yes.
I don't want to have to make decisions. I run a company. I make decisions 1,000 times a day. And in my relationships, I don't fucking care. Where do you want to eat? I don't fucking care. I don't care. Pick a restaurant. I'll eat anything. Fine. Do I look like I'm picky about meals? No, I don't care. Fucking pick something. I don't want to talk about bills. I don't want to talk about but again, I also don't want to explain where I'm spending my money.
Right.
Like, that's why I'm single, because honestly, I've been, like I said, I have an ex-wife, I have an ex-husband. They both sucked. Like, now, now it's me, myself, and I can spend my money on K-pop. I can spend my money on BL. I can spend my money on manhwa. I can do whatever I want. And I now have enough money to do pretty much literally anything I want. And like, that freedom is really nice, because relationships were always super stressful for me because I don't want to make decisions, and I need people to be very clear with where we are in a relationship at any given moment. Like, I need you to say, we're only talking, we're only dating, we're only, like, don't fucking do this thing where you text me, then you don't, then you text me, then you don't, like, that kind of stuff. And that's why I don't do that in my books, because I fucking hate it. That's why I don't do the third act breakup, because I fucking hate it. Like, I don't want the angst to come from relationships. I want it to come from outside sources, and I think that's where the comfort level is for a lot of my readers. They know that the angst isn't necessarily because they're going to break up and then get back together. You know,
I never thought about that. That's a good point. Yeah.
So yeah,
that is why they're pretty comfy. Like, I can trust that these two, once they become a thing, they're a thing. Yeah. Like, oh yeah.
Somebody called them cozy dark romance, and I can't unhear it. I'm like, that's really what it is. It's like,
it is though. Oh my god.
People tell me they listen to my audiobooks every night to go to sleep. Like, they've listened to them hundreds of times, and I'm just like, really?
I'm one of those
they're like my comfort, and I'm just like. But I mean, I wrote them that way, you know, like, because I come from a fanfic world where I studied fandom for so long, because I was like, what is it that people love about, say, Buffy the Vampire Slayer? What is it they loved about the Vampire Diaries? What is it that like made these fandoms so rabid? Steric fandom, you know, from Teen Wolf. Like, they created a whole new story because Jeff Davis fucked them. Like, they were like, fuck it, we'll just do it ourselves. Like, a whole fandom just came together and was like, no, fuck that guy. Like, and created their own world. And I was like, I want to create a world where people will be like, I don't care if they're just eating breakfast. I want to read about it. Yeah. And that's the stuff we get in fanfics, because it's the stuff they tell you to cut out. Like, if you've ever taken a writing class, they're like, cut the fluff. Like, it's extraneous. It's not important. And it is important. It is important. And it's the stuff I love to read. So it's the stuff I put in there. The conversations that they have that don't have anything to do with plot. The conversations, the banter between them and their friends, you know, like, all of that stuff is stuff you usually see in the fanfics of your favorite books, not necessarily the books themselves. Because a lot of TradPub will still, to this day, cut out all the fluffy stuff, and that's my comfort level. I like the fluff, you know.
This kind of ties into that. Vel asks, how do you find a place to publish your work? I broke into publishing through erotica through small publishers that no longer exist, but aside from self-pub, how can you get your stuff out there?
I have always been self-pubbed. I never tried to get traditionally published. I'm too much of a control freak.
Nice.
When I was writing YA, I was writing YA paranormal, but I was writing it from 4 POVs. One was from a gay character, one was from a bisexual character, and the storylines were so intermingled, and there was like poly characters, but they were teenagers, And so I knew that the minute I tried to get that trad pub, they were going to be like, no, this won't work. Like, you can't have poly characters as teenagers. You can't have this. You can't have that. And so I was like, fuck it. I'm not. And then you have to give them 90% of your royalties.
Yeah, no.
Fuck that.
Right.
No. So I buckled down and I was like, I'll figure it out. And I thought I had it all together, and I published my first book and I didn't know shit. And I realized very quickly I didn't know shit about the publishing world, and it was a lot of trial and error. But now I could do this shit with my eyes closed. Like, I literally run a corporation. So you're never going to find a perfect experience. You kind of just have to close your eyes and pray, you know?
Yeah.
There's things you can do, obviously, to like boost your career. Like, I've helped 2 of my friends become authors, and because of my experience, I'm like, no, you want to make sure your branding is already in place. You want to make sure your social media is already in place. You want to be teasing it even while you're like setting up the, to get it published. Like, you want to just be building excitement for the book that's about to come, even if it's not already available yet. So there's things that I've learned along the way that I like pass on, but I don't know anything about traditional publishing. Other than they take a lot of your royalties, and if you don't produce in like 6 weeks, they usually drop you. Yeah. One of my favorite stories is the writer who wrote Percy Jackson and the Olympians. He does this talk where he's like, it took me 7 years to become an overnight success, because he was on book, I want to say 5 of the series, and his publisher was going to drop him because he was doing book signings that nobody showed up to. He was not making any sales, and he was just basically struggling every single day. And he was just like, yeah, I'm about to lose my career. And then out of nowhere, somebody picked up his book, and that was the right somebody. And they talked to somebody, and they talked to somebody, and they talked to somebody, and it blew up overnight. And you just don't know. I was eight books in when Unhinged took off. Like, I was doing okay. I was doing all right. Like, I was able to replace my nursing salary with writing in 2020, but I wasn't like rolling in the dough, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then somebody found Unhinged on TikTok, and she had a huge following, and then other people with a huge following picked that up, and it just kind of snowballed. And every 2 years or so, another person finds Unhinged, and they like go off about it, and then it has this little wave, where the series just kind of like goes, and but you don't know when that's going to happen, And some people tell me all the time, you're just lucky. And I'm like, yeah, I'm lucky because somebody picked up my book. But if it sucked, then they would have just, this book sucks. Right. I'm lucky because I'm a decent writer and somebody picked up my book. You know what I mean? Like, so some of it is definitely luck, because all she did was type in gay romance because it was Pride Month. You know what I mean? And mine was the first book that like appealed to her because of the cover. So like I said, on some levels, it's definitely lucky, but I'm also a big manifestation person. So like, I tell myself every day I'm going to be successful. Like, I tell myself I am successful. I always tell myself that everything that I want is already here, And when I did my course on Patreon for other authors, I basically gave them this huge disclaimer in the front where I was just like, this is going to sound real witchy woo-woo, okay? Like, so just get on board right now, because I'm going to talk to you a lot about manifestation, because that's what helped me. Like, I truly believe that I just basically woke up one morning and I was like, I cannot do another day of nursing. And I told my kid, who was an adult, I cannot fucking do this anymore. I'm quitting my job. And I had sat on it like the whole night before, and I was just like, oh my God, you can't do this. You're going to be living off your 401k. And if this tanks, you're fucked. Because my nursing license was expiring and I wasn't going to renew it. And so I just said, okay, here we go. And then I quit my job, and I had my 2 weeks left of my 2-week notice, and COVID hit, and the like $60K I had in my 401k became like $26,000 because COVID tanked the market. So I had like half the money I had anticipated having to kind of get me through until because that's kind of why I was like writing like I was possessed. Like, I literally wrote like 7 books in a year.
Dude, that's ADHD right there.
Yeah, none of those books were the one. None of them hit. And then I asked my readers, I was like, what do you want to read? And they were like, we want more books like Captivating, where Shep was like a sociopath.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, huh, okay. And so like I sat down and I was like, I love Dexter. And the Umbrella Academy was huge right then. And I was like, oh my God, what if I just made this series about this eccentric billionaire who basically adopts a bunch of psychopathic kids and teaches them to be vigilantes? And I was like, this is either going to be huge or it's going to be a flop. Like, and when I wrote the Excalibur scene when Adam's trying to get the meat cleaver out of the guy's chest, I was like,
yeah.
I was like, this is going to make or break it. If people get the dark humor, it's going to be fine. But if they don't, it's going to flop. It's just going to be a disaster. And I sent it to Neve Wilder because she and I were co-authoring books at the time. And all I did was send her the cover. I hadn't even sent her anything yet. And she's like, this is it. This is the series that's going to take off. She's like, this is it. I was like, I haven't even written it yet. She's like, I'm telling you, this is the series. This is the one. You're going to take off with this one. And then the day I published, everything went wrong. Every single fucking thing went wrong. Everything. I had lost my pre-order privileges because I'd gotten COVID. And so if you don't publish within 30 days of your publishing date, Amazon takes away your ability to pre-order. So you get punished.
Amazon, man.
So
God.
yeah, you can usually like write them and be like, I'm so sorry, can I please have my privileges back? And depending on who's on the other side of the computer, you can get it. Right. But at the time, I was so busy recovering from being sick that I just never did. So I was like, okay, I'm going to publish it 2 days before because sometimes Amazon can really take time. They didn't publish the day it was supposed to publish. They didn't publish till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I had ads out. I had all of this stuff happening and there was no book. And I was in tears. I was sobbing. And my daughter's like, you're being so fucking dramatic right now. She's like, it's fine. It's going to be fine. And I was like, it's not fine. I've ruined everything already. And then like Unhinged did okay. And then Psycho did better. And then somebody found my books. Her name is Virgo Reader, actually. She's great. She's on TikTok. And it just blew up overnight. I was suddenly making 5 times the money I was making, like within minutes. Like, I mean, it felt like I woke up one morning and it was just like, okay, this is Monopoly money. Like it didn't feel real.
Right.
But then it became a company. It became a corporation. Like I have employees now. Like, and so that first year I was like rolling in the dough. I was like, this is great. This is fantastic. But now I have employees. So now I'm like, oh, look, we made a profit this year. Yay.
Yay.
Like, woohoo, we're not in the red. Yay.
Responsibility.
And people say to me like, oh, how do you get it all done? I'm like, I don't. I have a business manager. I have 3 personal assistants, one who handles my personal stuff, one who handles my shop, and one who handles all my online shit. I have a person who runs my social media. I have a person who runs my ads. Like all of those people are my employees. Like, so I'm not doing it on my own. Like, I'm not like, this powerhouse. It's just like, and a lot of authors are. A lot of authors are their whole team. And yeah. I will never be able to go back to that. Like, I'd rather make less money and put out a good product than stress myself out to the point where I like wake up every day and I'm just like, if I have to write one more scene, I'm going to kill myself. Like, and I actually, one of the reasons that I didn't finish a serial that I was working on for my newsletter is because I had a mental breakdown, a literal full-scale mental breakdown 2 years ago. And even looking at the title of that book literally makes me sick to my stomach because it was that bad. Yeah. So like, and that's when I kind of like just overhauled everything because I was just like, this is crazy. Like, this is what you've always wanted to do. You wanted to be a professional writer. Now you're a professional writer. What do you want about? Like, pull it together. Yeah. Get your shit together. You're an adult. Like, like, come on, adult. Do the adult thing. So I went to therapy and nice. I started like delegating and hiring people. And now life is a lot better, a lot easier. But I don't make as much money. But that's okay.
It's okay.
If I do this, I don't do it for the money.
I would rather be comfortable and happy. Yeah.
As long as I can still buy my books, I'm fine.
What's your writing schedule look like? Do you have a set word count goal per day?
I don't. I tried that. Like I really did. Yeah. Like I have a program called Life At, and it basically has a really like soothing screensaver, and you can do like nature noises or train noises or brown
Oh
noises.
yeah, I do stuff like
I
that
do
on
like
YouTube.
I do like theta waves, and I have a Pomodoro timer, and I do like 20-minute sessions. And some days I just wake up and I can't write. I just can't. I'm just like, the idea of writing is just so much for me that I'm just like, I can't do it. So those days I work on ideas for marketing. I work on like social media stuff. I answer my emails, stuff like that. I really tried to be that person who's like, I get up at 7 in the morning and I write until noon and I write 5,000 words a day. And some days I write 1,500 words. Some days I write 10,000 words. I've written as much as 14,000 words in a day. Like it just really depends. It's 100% just based on my moods. Like Becca Syme, who's like she is like a writing coach. She has this company called Write Better Faster, and she makes you do like the MBTI and your Enneagram and stuff like that. And then she kind of like goes over your writing style based on that. And I'm an INFJ, and it's like I have to be interested. So like if I know the ending of a story, I'm not going to finish it because I've already solved the puzzle essentially.
Right.
And like once I learned that about myself, I kind of give myself a little bit of grace as far as like my daughter's like, why can't you just have a set schedule? Why can't you just work Monday through Friday? And it's just like, because that's just not how my brain works. Like sometimes I want to write at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want to write at 1 in the morning. Sometimes I don't want to write at all. Sometimes I write all day and I just get locked in, and I just can't really focus long enough to just be like, I'm going to write 4,000 words today. Usually if I start a chapter, I'll finish a chapter, whether that chapter is 3,500 words or 6,000. But that's pretty much all I can commit to in my own head.
Do you ever find it hard to balance writing the level of kink you want to write and appeal to a broader commercial audience?
Yes. Yes. And because like part of the reason like the Dark Vaults thing is because I like to read really, really, really kinky stuff. But I have a line. But I have a line. Like I'm fine with dubcon. I'm even fine with some non-con depending on the context.
Same.
It has to be contextual. It has to like make sense. I'm not the type of person who can write a story where like somebody gets kidnapped off the street and they're like held hostage and like all this horrible stuff happens to them. In the end, they're like, oh, we're in love. I'm like, no, you have Stockholm syndrome.
Yes.
And so like I can't go that far in my own head. And I don't think that my audience would want me to. But like the stuff I've written for me, like the Omegaverse stuff, is definitely much more intense than my readers are used to from me. And I don't mind like testing the boundaries, but I don't want to push it to a point where they're uncomfortable or I'm uncomfortable, because again, there's just some things that I write and I'm just like, ew, I don't like this, I can't do it. So that's why when I asked them like what kind of like kinks and stuff they have and like what they're interested in and like what kind of things they would be interested in seeing, some of the stuff I was like, oh, why did I even ask that? Because I can't do that. But then other stuff I was like, oh, okay, yeah, like like the whole Asa Avi thing. Okay, that's fine. Like in my head, like I mean, they're identical twins. They've obviously one has a pain kink, the other one has a sadist kink. Like it makes sense that as children they like pushed those boundaries. They're not even children, but teenagers, because it's well documented in the series that Asa used to hurt Avi and Avi used to want him to.
Yeah.
I think at one point he even broke his arm.
Yeah.
but like, so I don't mind exploring that as long as everybody's consenting. I'm going to be honest with you, and this is going to sound horrible. If you're a grown adult, I don't care who you're fucking. I don't care if it's your family member. I don't care if both of you are consenting. I don't care about gender. I don't care about who's related to who. It's none of my fucking business. I mean, maybe if you're planning on procreating, it might be an issue, but the fucking royals have been doing it for years and everybody seems fine.
I'm the same fucking way, dude.
Yeah, so like that doesn't bother me. Like I don't mind the whole incest thing, again, as long as it's two consenting adults and everybody was a consenting adult the whole time. You know what I mean? Like that's fine. I don't want to read about grooming. I don't want to read about any of that stuff. But like, but then again, I also was obsessed with Jane Eyre, and she grows up, he raises her and then she grows up and marries him, and I was obsessed with that book in high school. I was like, oh, that's so romantic. And like now, like as somebody who has like a 27-year-old child and like grandchildren, I'm like, ew, So, you know, control yourself. And I'm like, okay, well, in the context of the time, you know, like I will justify my own kinks to myself. But like, yeah, so like there's just certain things that make me feel icky that I won't write. But then there's stuff that I like play around with and I'm like, oh, okay, I can do this, you know, like this is fun, this is cool. It's more the expectation of disappointing somebody than it is the actual writing itself. That's a lot where I get stuck, not because of like necessarily the plot, but like the expectation keeps building. And like, especially because I write on Patreon, so like they read chapter by chapter, you know, so if they read something and somebody, even if it's one person, if 150 people are like, this is amazing, and one person's like, meh, I'm like, well, fuck, you know.
I'm the same way. Yeah,
that meh is in my head for the next 2 weeks, you know. So it's just like, that's the part where I get stuck more than anything, is just the expectation of always trying to one up myself when, you know, at some point a book is gonna flop. Like that's just, I feel like it's inevitable. Yeah. But you know, all I can do is just kind of tell myself like, this is the story you're telling, this is the story you want to tell, hopefully everybody likes it, but you're writing this for yourself, you know, because if I don't tell myself that, then it's just never gonna get written, because I live in a swimming pool of self-doubt.
Same.
Imposter syndrome is real.
It fucking is, man. This kind of goes to something that we were talking about earlier. Do you distinguish between fun reward punishment and actual discipline, and how?
Yeah, like I haven't really done it much on text, you know what I mean? But yeah, there's punishments and then there's punishments, you know.
Punishments.
There's like, you know, it's like, oh no, he's gonna spank me. Oh no, like, you know, like
that's very Mel coded.
Ratting exists. Oh my God. You know, you're poking the bear on purpose. You want to be punished. Like, so yeah, like that's why sometimes like your punishment isn't like, oh, I'm gonna spank you. Your punishment is like, you have to sit down and write 10 nice things about yourself. You know? Fucker, how dare you? How fucking dare you? You know, like, so that's a lot of things I think also people don't understand with BDSM. It's like, if you're with somebody who really understands you and understands you mentally, they're so much better at doming you because they know you know,
get it. Yeah.
They get it. They know they know your boundaries. They know how to push them without breaking them. They know how to do, like, again, punishments versus punishments, you know. It's like, and that's just like, I think I should explore that more. I have so many characters and so many stories that people want written that if I don't clone myself, I can't give everybody what they want. There's a spreadsheet that I have in Patreon where people can put their ideas for minifigs.
Oh, cool.
It's like 170 like deep, and I haven't done one of them yet. It's only a month old, but like, you know, it's like there's a lot of things people want, and it's just like, oh, a little overwhelming, you know.
Yeah.
Boo-hoo. For me. But you know, it is. It's just a lot. Like, you're like, oh God, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that, you know. But like, I'm writing 2 serials and I'm writing a book, and you know, like at full time. So it's just like, you know, just getting out the content weekly is hard enough. But like, then I have like this whole Adam in suburbia thing that's happening right now because Adam and Noah moved to the suburbs, and Adam is losing his mind. He's become part of the garden club. He thinks he's solving a murder. Noah is having a stroke. He's just like, what the fuck? He thinks Adam's off his rocker. He's complaining in a group text every day to the family, like, what do I do? He's lost it. He's crazy. And everybody thinks it's hilarious because he's trying to be a detective. And like, and the funny thing is he's on to something, but they don't believe him because he's such a fucking, you know, dummy. So much. And so like, he's infiltrated the garden club and just stuff like that. So like, that's the stuff that's fun to write because nobody's really expecting much. So like, a lot of it's done in text conversations. I made a newsletter that he wrote as one of the garden club members, like stuff like that. So I've been doing more of that kind of content. August and Lucas got caught fucking in the student library, like, and it became like an article for the newspaper, the school paper.
I remember that. Yeah.
And then it became like a article on a gossip website, and then like the whole family had something to say about it, and like, so that kind of stuff is like fun for me because it's stuff that like I can just do while I'm like watching TV at night because it's like more graphic design than anything. And so like I've been trying to like mix it up content wise so that people don't get bored, but also so that I don't get burnt out. So,
right. Burnout is killing. As someone who's going through burnout currently, it's not, I don't suggest it.
It's awful. And it's paralyzing. Like, and I think a lot of people don't understand that. And I'm watching like fellow authors like sit online and apologize. Like, I know I said I'd have this book out by this date, but I just can't do it. Like, you know, and they're like, oh, my dog died and my dad's sick and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, you don't have to justify like why you're struggling. Like you can just say, I need a fucking minute, you know, like, and that's hard to give yourself that same grace that you give everybody else, you know, but like sometimes you just can't do it. It's a creative process that you've commodified. So it's hard because now it's product, if that makes sense. You know, so you're constantly like, got to put out more product. You know, I've got patrons, I've got this, I've got that. Da, da, da. And on some level, it's like good because I know that I have a deadline I have to meet. Yes. Even if it's just like, well, sorry, I had to push it back, guys. But like, because if I don't have a deadline, I could just meander forever. You know, I can just lollygag, as my grandmother used to say. Like, you know, so I like the pressure of Patreon and I like the positive feedback that I get immediately, or negative feedback. Like I had to go back to the drawing board with the beginning of Seven's story because somebody said that Enzo came across as a rapist, and I was like, holy shit, okay, that wasn't the plan.
Okay, I didn't get that vibe, but that's just me.
I was like, oh my god, okay. So no, I literally yanked it off Patreon and I read it like 100 times. I was like, where am I going wrong? Where am I going wrong? Like, I don't get it. And a lot of people were like, I don't see that. And I'm like, yeah, you don't. But if somebody does, then I owe it to them to at least reflect on why. And I finally kind of figured it out that it was a lot of like the language he was using more than it was his personality. And once I kind of tweaked that a little bit and I tweaked the storyline, because eventually at one point it was going to be very much like The Secretary. I don't know if you've seen that movie. Yeah. But then I realized that's a line that a lot of my readers don't want me to cross. So that's going to be more, like I said, like the Dark Vault stuff. Because I love The Secretary. It is one of my favorite movies. It's one of the first times I ever saw a movie that kind of did it right with kink, but then kind of didn't. You know what I mean? Like they didn't discuss their boundaries before he crossed them grossly. But also it was very realistic in her portrayal of being like submissive as almost like a fallback. Like that was who she was as a person, you know? So it was just an interesting dynamic to watch the two of them. And I kind of just liked that idea because I like the power exchange, you know what I mean? But if it's not a preset power exchange, then it's just dubcon, and then it gets like skewed and then people can misconstrue it, or they can be like, you know, it's just so I don't like to muddy the waters with my Onley James like on paper stuff. It's the same reason the Core 4 stuff stayed on Patreon for so long, because somebody actually wrote me and was like, if you make it so that they're poly, even knowing it's in the world, I don't think I can ever read you. And I was just like, okay, girl.
That's a you problem.
I was like, okay, well, I don't know what to tell you. I'm so sorry. But it's already out there. It already exists in the world. Yeah. You don't have to read it if you don't want to. I totally understand your boundaries, and if that's pushing it, fine. But I can't not write something just because one person is going to be uncomfortable. Right. But if I think a bunch of people are going to be uncomfortable, then I have to at least explore why that is.
Think about it. Yeah. Let's see. Something lighter. What was your favorite Jericho's Boys book to write so far?
That's hard. I loved writing Paladin because the story was very clear to me from the beginning. And I honestly was worried because I thought that people would think that maybe Arson was taking advantage of Ever because of this situation. Which is why I made Ever so vocal about like, don't tell me how to process my own trauma. And I think that's an important thing to talk about, because I don't think enough people realize that. And that's why when people say, oh, Noah could never be into like being submissive and being into pain and and I'm like, you can't say never because you don't know. And a lot of people, like, they expect if you've been assaulted or if you've been, abused as a child, that you should have a very set trauma look to you. Like you are just a walking trauma. And that is just not how people exist in the world. Like right. You can meet people who look absolutely 100% like they've got their shit together. And that doesn't mean that they do. They could go home every night and cry. Like you just don't know how trauma manifests in people. And so Arson being so like hands off with him in the beginning makes sense because obviously you don't want to be pushy and like stuff like that. But when somebody tells you like, listen, like this is what happened. It's my story. This is what happened to me. Like, and I get to process it how I want to, and I want to do this, then you have to kind of like listen to them because you don't get to determine how other people present themselves to the world or right. how other people process their trauma. And, and I think that's probably why I write the way I do, because I like to show other aspects of people other than just being like this walking wound in the world. Yeah. It's just not how people are. Like if you've had a traumatic childhood, like you're still a person. You still have to go to work every day. You still have to, pretend that like nothing happened. And a lot of us just compartmentalize that. We're like, okay, we're just going to put this over here. That's honestly why I do EMD, why I did the EMDR therapy, because for the first time ever, a psychiatrist was like, I think I get what's going on here. She's like, I think this is like, I used to think it was because I was bullied as a kid, like from like 7th grade on. Yeah. And then I realized it was because I was raised by parents who didn't raise me at all. I'm a Gen Xer. Like my parents were never there. I was like, my parents were so great. And then I went to therapy and she was like, you have complex PTSD. Your parents were not great. You almost died 6 times before you were 6 years old. Your parents were not paying attention. Like your parents, like I literally fell out of a moving car. Like I drowned in a swimming pool to the point where I was unconscious. I fell off a horse. Like I literally almost died 6 times before I was even like in kindergarten. And, but my therapist explained it to me that she said, when you have mental illness, that's not PTSD. When you have like non-trauma mental illness, depression, anxiety, stuff that's more chemical, it's like you're firing a gun and it goes straight in, like a memory just goes straight into your head and it goes where it's supposed to go. But when you have trauma, basically it's like scattershot. So like, it's like it gets into your brain and it fractures. And so the trauma goes in places in your brain that it's not supposed to, and it affects how you view the world. Like whether you're emotional, whether you're not emotional, how you like look at other people, how you don't trust other people. And it's not because like you're doing anything wrong or they're doing anything wrong. It's because all of this trauma has been basically your memories have been put in a place they don't belong. And EMDR therapy, which sounded like such bullshit to me, I'm not gonna lie. It sounded so fucking witchy woo woo, and I'm a fucking witch. And I was like, okay, girl, okay. Like, yeah, that sounds really stupid, if I'm being honest, but okay. And so my therapist was like, just try it. And if you don't like it, then, whatever. And I fought that shit. Oh my God, I'm 3 years deep and I'm finally about to like get to a point. I'm finally to a point where I don't go every week, I go monthly. But the person I was 3 years ago versus who I am now is so different, because once you've processed that trauma, you really do see how differently you interact in the world. But one of the drawbacks is now that I have my emotions back, I can't watch anything true crime. I can watch documentaries that are like about like people who rob banks or like, or maybe like a murder. But like I used to watch gruesome shit. Things about child killers and serial predators and stuff like that would roll right off me. Now I can't watch a fucking Hallmark commercial without crying.
My hyper fixation for a whole like year was Ed Kemper. So like I was so
I'm the kind of person who starts a conversation like, so who's your favorite serial killer?
See, I don't like saying favorite because he's a fucking serial killer.
It's weird. Like, Ed Kemper was one of my also like obsessions because he was so smart. He was like Hannibal Lecter. Do you know what I mean? Like it was like, and again, we're not used to seeing that. We're not used to seeing, because they say sociopaths are usually very impulsive. They have no impulse control, which is why, and they're usually violent, but they're also usually not very bright. So that's why they get caught more often than psychopaths, because psychopaths compartmentalize. They know how to blend in with the world. They've taught themselves how to human. you know, and that's, sometimes you can see it in the eyes though. Like sometimes you can see it in the eyes, you can see the dead eyes. But so many psychopaths are CEOs of companies, you know, most of them are not murderers. So, and doctors, oh my God. Doctors. There's a thin line between psychopath and neurodivergent when it comes to doctors. Like you have these doctors that are fantastic surgeons, but their bedside manner is borderline scary, you know, but you're like, I don't care. As long as he knows what he's doing when he cuts me open, who fucking cares? You know, but I think doctors can't do what they do if they care too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I also worked oncology for 3 years. So it's like really hard to like deal with that and be like, oh, I was so emotional. Cause like, you can't handle it if you have to be that way. Now I could never go back to oncology. I could definitely never go back to children's psych. Like, it's a good thing I'm a writer, because I think now that I've processed all my trauma, I'm a walking like nightmare when it comes to that stuff. I'm like, I just can't handle it anymore. But I think it's made me a better writer as far as like processing like other people's emotions, because before I was just like, in real life I'm just like, suck it up, buttercup, like, you know, this isn't the trauma Olympics, like, you know, I was such a bitch about other people's like issues, and now I'm just like, no, I get it, like so sorry, that was a rant.
No, I love it. That's what this is for. We have like 5-6 minutes left. Let's see if I got a good one. This is kind of random. What's your favorite kind of monster to write about and why?
If anybody read my YA books, I'm assuming you mean like supernatural monster and not just
I would assume so.
I am again, this goes back to the Omegaverse. I'm a huge werewolf fan. I was a big Teen Wolf fan. I was a big Steric fan. I always loved writing about werewolves because I love the found family aspect. I love the pack dynamics. I like being like, I like writing alphas that are non-traditional in the sense of like alpha romance, you know, like, because real alphas in the actual wild are not that. They're not fighting for dominance. They're not doing anything. They're taking care of their, like, you know what I mean? It's a protective role. It's not a, like a, you know, grr, I'm in charge kind of thing. Right. And so like, I liked writing that. Like in my YA books, the alpha was a female who was, you know, and she was like a baker, and she was like, you know, she was a mom. She was like everybody's mom. So like that kind of thing. I used to love vampires. I used to love writing vampires. But then I was just like, I don't know. I stopped being able to rationalize vampires in my head somehow, if that makes sense. Like they were too beautiful. They were too non-flawed. They were too
perfect.
Yeah. And the idea of like somebody living forever was weird to me, because it's like, she's 17 and you're 125. Like that's weird. You might look like a 17-year-old, but you're not.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like dating somebody who's 45 and looks great for their age, you know? Like, it's not the same thing. Like I could never date a teenager because we are in very different places dynamics-wise.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I'm just like, I'm like, okay, kid, get out of here. Run along, you know? Like, so it stopped making sense in my head. So I like, in my previous books, my characters were werewolves, they were banshees, necromancers, one of them was a soul eater. Like, so, you know, I love all of that stuff. I've always been like a real paranormal junkie. I watch all the ghost shows. Like, in another life, I will finish the series. My 4th book got pirated when I was still writing YA, and I was so devastated by like the way sales crashed once it got out, because it got out before I actually published the book.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. So when it got kind of leaked, I just kind of was like lost. I just lost it. I was just like, what am I doing this for? I'm not making any money. You know, I love the story. I love the series. Like I had a very good cult following for that series, but it wasn't enough to live on. You know, I was still working as a nurse full time, and I had just finished Intoxicating, and that was like doing really well. And it happened because I have friends who were male romance authors before who encouraged me to write male romance, and they basically read every single chapter as I wrote it. And, you know, so they promoted it to their audience. I had a leg up in that specific genre. So it made it easy for me to kind of like jump into that genre and actually do decent. Like I said, I wasn't doing great. I wasn't rolling in the money, but I was doing well enough to finally replace nursing was something else. Even though that took like 6 books, but I was like, I saw the light at the end of the tunnel, essentially.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I just love writing contemporary stories because there's no real world building, you know. In my other books, like everything had to be accounted for. You know, you're creating a whole system of magic, you're creating rules, you're creating everything. And that's kind of what I'm doing with the Omegaverse stuff now. I'm kind of like dipping my toe back in. Like one of them is very post-apocalyptic. It's an alternate United States where like things have really gone to shit. And then my other one's also kind of like an alt US, but it's like everything's the same except, you know, it's the ABO dynamics exist. So I get to play with that now as Nola Harker. But yeah, like writing contemporary romance is just so much nicer because like most people understand my pop culture references. I'm getting to an age where some people are like, what? Some people didn't understand Adam's Hannah Montana joke. Some people had no idea some people really didn't know who Hannah Montana was. A lot of my foreign readers especially didn't understand.
Oh, okay.
Which made sense. Yeah, some people didn't understand why Mac calls Archer Katniss.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I was like, you know, because his name is Archer and she was an archer. And they're just like,
yeah.
I'm like, but in the book, like he goes through so many nicknames before he comes on that one, and that one annoys him the most, and that's why it sticks. But like, if people read, you know, Lunatic, if they remembered, he was calling him a bunch of different dumb names before he found that Katniss was the one that really dug the knife in. So yeah.
I love Archer's ship because I never predicted it. Like I never thought that would like be a thing, and then it like kind of like worked into my head like, oh my god, that's Shep's brother, holy shit. I lost
and when it came to me, I kind of went to a friend and I was just like, is this too much? Like, are people gonna be like, what? But I had already come up with the idea for the watch because I was obsessed with the show. It's basically a graphic novel, Deadly Class.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever read it, but it's basically it's basically a school for assassins, for teenage assassins.
Okay.
Right. And so once I found that, I was like, oh, I want to do something like that, like with the watch, you know, but it's like basically Thomas's program, but like on a global scale. Because I'd already pretty much pointed out that the government knows what Thomas is doing now. Like they know. So it made perfect sense that they not only knew, but they then stole the program and kind of like implemented it on a level of like Black Ops kind of thing. And I wanted to do more like large scale kind of stuff. Like I wanted to do more spy stuff. I thought it would be really fun. But I had to make it work in the dynamics of my series. And I kind of knew Archer was doing something on the, you know, shady, but I didn't quite understand until like I did understand. And then I was just like, oh, okay, this all makes sense now. And a lot of people were pissed. They wanted him to be this wounded drunk who never, like, you know what I mean? Like they wanted
I liked it.
But it just wasn't who he was. Like, you know, like even in my head, like I loved how dry he was and how he always just looked drunk all the time.
It's great.
Like it was awesome. Very Jack Sparrow, which I just thought was funny. But yeah, like I kind of, once I figured out his story, I liked where it went. And then I think what saved that story for a lot of people was his relationship with Noah. Like how him interact with each other. I think that's where I kind of won people back over, because I know a lot of people were like, fuck you. like they were expecting one thing and they got something entirely different. And that's on me, you know, like I get it. Like I might have been pissed too, but I think I won people over with like his, you know, him and Noah having that heart-to-heart conversation. So and then I had to move on to Maniac, and that was like ripping my own heart out. That was so depressing to write.
Many tears.
My daughter called the playlist I listen to every day music to unalive yourself to.
Oh my god.
She's like, can you please stop playing that music? It's so depressing. I'm like, I know. Do you think I want to be this depressed?
It's so relatable.
I have to get into the headspace of my characters. I don't want to sit around doing this.
Well, we're over time. Thank you so much for coming. This was great.
So fun.
It was so nice to simp for an hour and a half.
Yeah. Please, anytime.
Yeah. You have my email.
Yes. Hey, listen, I'll come back anytime. If you just want to talk, you can just call me.
Yeah.
We can do this all day. Last time we talked, I think for like almost an hour and a half too.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It was really fun.
Next year,
Thank you guys for all the questions.
Yeah.